Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today I'd like to share a story about my cat Midnight, whose empathetic nature inspired my touching story about kindness and compassion. Let me start by introducing Midnight, a mixed-breed tiger-spotted white cat with mesmerizing green eyes and a smooth fur that shines in the sunlight. I've had him since he was a kitten, and over the years he has grown into a loving and intuitive companion. The most special thing about Midnight is his ability to sense my emotions. It's almost like he has a sixth sense. For example, when I'm feeling low or stressed, he'll come over and curl up next to me, cooing softly as if to say, "Everything's going to be okay." His presence is very comforting, as if he knows what I need at the moment. Instead, when I'm happy or excited, he joins in the celebration by running around the house or bringing me his favorite toy to play with. It was as if he was sharing in my joy. Another fascinating thing about Midnight is his curiosity. He is always exploring every corner of the house, investigating new smells and sounds. He's even learned to open doors by jumping up and turning the doorknob. This is both impressive and a bit mischievous. Once he opened the bathroom door while I was in the shower and just sat there looking at me with eyes that seemed to say, "What are you doing in there?" It was really funny. He also has a unique purr. Unlike a regular cat's purr, his purr is more like a melodic chirp, and neighbors often comment that it's the most pleasing cat purr they've ever heard. As for his preferences, Midnight is very picky about his food. He likes cooked shrimp and cooked beef, and he will turn his nose up at other meats. His favorite toy is a rabbit for cat teaser that he can play with for hours. He was also particularly fascinated by birds, especially magpies. He would sit in front of the window for hours, watching them fly around, their tails twitching with excitement. But what I marveled at most was his empathy. Once when I had the flu, Midnight stayed by my side all day and barely left my room. He would sleep next to me, and whenever I coughed or sneezed, he would look at me with concerned eyes. It was like he was trying to help me get healthy again. It was last December when the temperature dropped below freezing. One evening, as the sun went down, casting long shadows across the yard, I was in the kitchen preparing dinner. Suddenly, I heard Midnight calling urgently from the living room. It was counterintuitive because he usually only barked when he wanted to eat or needed attention, and he had already eaten. I walked over to see what he was focusing on. He was sitting in front of the window, with his eyes glued to the outside. I looked out and saw a skinny, scruffy cat curled up under a bush in the yard. It looked cold and hungry, trying to keep warm in the fading light. My heart sank at the sight of the poor creature. Midnight purred and tapped his paw against the window, as if to tell me something. It was obvious that he wanted me to help the cat. I decided to go out and see if I could coax the stray cat to come closer. I brought some cat food and placed it near the shrub. The stray cat was wary at first, its eyes wide with fear, but after a few minutes, hunger seemed to overwhelm its caution, and it slowly walked out and began to eat. The stray cat was small and frail-looking, with dirty fur and eyes that seemed unusually large. Its ribs were clearly visible from under its sparse fur, and it shivered in the cold night air. As I approached, it backed away in fear, its tail tucked between its legs. But after a few moments of hesitation, hunger took over, and it took a few tentative steps and began to eat. Over the next few days, this became my daily routine. Every night, I would put out food for the stray cats, and Midnight would watch from the window, seemingly satisfied that his friend was being cared for. Sometimes I would hear him make soft purring sounds, as if he was communicating with the stray cats. One day, while putting out food, I noticed a wound on the stray cat's leg. It looked infected, and it was limping. I knew it wasn't enough to just offer food. I tried to catch it and take it to the vet, but it was too timid and ran away every time I approached it. That's when Midnight came to help. Midnight started sitting by the door and barking whenever the stray cat was nearby, as if to encourage it to trust me. He would look at me, then at the stray cat, then at me again, as if trying to bridge a communication gap. After a few days, the stray cat seemed to relax a bit with me. It would stay a little longer after eating, and even let me come closer without immediately running away. Finally, one morning, I found the stray cat sleeping on our front porch. It must have been so cold outside that it had found a place close to the house to get out of the wind. I carefully picked it up and brought it inside to check the wound. The wound looked infected, so I decided to take it to the vet. The vet cleaned the wound, gave it some antibiotics, and instructed me on how to care for it at home. After that, I let the cat rest in the spare room. When I gently picked up the stray cat, it surprisingly did not resist. Perhaps it sensed that I was helping it. I put it on a towel on the kitchen table, and the wound was a severe cut, probably from a fight with another animal. The wound was red and swollen with pus oozing out. The vet carefully cleaned it and applied some ointment. The cat whimpered softly but was cooperative and looked at me trustingly. While the vet was treating the wound, the cat looked at me with grateful eyes, as if thanking me for my help. That moment brought tears to my eyes. Midnight was enamored with this new visitor. He would sit outside the room and watch through the doorway to make sure the stray cat was okay. Sometimes he even tried to go into play, but I had to separate them so that the injured cat wouldn't get scared or fight. After a few days, the stray cat's wounds healed, and he seemed to have gained weight. His fur looked healthier, and there was a glow in his eyes that wasn't there before. However, I knew I couldn't keep it forever because I already had Midnight, and adding another cat might not be fair to either of them. So, I started looking for a new home for the stray cat. I posted flyers around the neighborhood and posted information on social media. Luckily, a neighbor had recently lost their cat and saw the post and expressed interest in adopting. I called the neighbor and told them about the cat. They were excited and came right over. Upon seeing the cat, they said, "Oh, he's just like my old cat. I miss him so much." The cat seemed to sense their sadness and took it upon himself to walk over to them, rubbing against their legs and purring. It was a beautiful moment. The neighbor took the cat home, and I breathed a sigh of relief, knowing he had found a loving family. As I handed the cat to my neighbor, I whispered, "Take care, little one. You'll have a good home." The cat looked at me with his big eyes as if to say thank you, and then snuggled into his neighbor's arms. Midnight seems to understand that his friend has found a new home. He resumed his daily routine, but occasionally looked out the window, perhaps reminiscing about the stray cats he had helped. This experience taught me a lot about the power of empathy and the difference a small gesture can make, and Midnight, with his compassionate nature, showed me that even animals can have a profound impact on our lives and the lives of others. Reflecting on this story, I realized that empathy is a trait shared by both humans and animals, and Midnight's actions inspire me to be more empathetic and compassionate towards others, both human and animal. This is a story inspired by my cat Midnight. I hope you enjoy it.